This is the virtual cheat sheet for digital portfolio assessment. We all know that the writing process is recursive. So that means that students would start with pre-writing, they would redraft, edit, and ultimately publish. And really this depiction in this visual needs that extra arrow to showcase that even though we might publish our work, it's never really truly final. So considering that, the digital portfolio assessment is a recursive, meaning it's cyclical, and an iterative, meaning it's constant, process to showcase growth. And the digital component adds the caveat that it would be ultimately published online. The differences between a traditional portfolio is that the digital portfolio usually is only showcasing the culminating product, so it acts almost like a summative assessment because it's in some ways final. The concept of the portfolio stays the same, and it's most effectively practiced with multiple iterations of revision and different forms of audiences. The Common Core standards that it hits, here they are. I used 6th grade standards for this just as an example, and you can read through those as you pause the video. The scholarship shows that the strengths of digital workshops, digital portfolios, is that it offers an opportunity of reflection. And what reflection is ultimately is making a space where there's an opportunity to play so that the student can say, well, I didn't really do a good job here because my friends didn't really understand that part, or I want to write about penguins, but I'm not quite sure how to start. But ultimately, the weakness is, even though we create that reflective space, there is a tension in that it is a summative assessment. So ultimately, we're saying, well, don't be afraid to experiment and reflect, but ultimately we are going to judge your work. So these are 2 citations to consider when talking about that. One of the ideas I mentioned, and I'll pull up one here in a second, other ideas is maybe using 2 weeks to start, peer review, revise, and publish short poems. The traditional portfolio, and it can be in a digital version, but really it would mean it's all just digitized, right? It's all online. Iterations of the poem, maybe the feedback along with the poem, and of course then the digital portfolio would be maybe a showcase of all the students' poetry. I'm going to pull up here an example of a digital portfolio that I've done with my students. So this one is for teacher prep. You can see that they have different tabs here. So this is in a website format. So you can see that they've put in lesson plans, they've included that lesson plan and their rationales, and they have it here. But that's the final product, right? That is there. So consider that. And these tabs, the way that they've structured the tabs is according to the teacher certification standards. So that's the way that I've had students set up digital teaching portfolios in the past. You can see that this is a website called the Digital Teaching Portfolio. So that's an example of how I've used it in the college environment, and I want to throw out a question for you guys there in how you would adapt it for your own classroom. You got references there.